Thanks, Lucian. Welcome everyone and Happy New Year. Welcome to the January 2023, meeting of Manhattan Community Board 1's Land Use, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee. I'm Patrick Cannell, chair of the committee, joined by our CB1 chair, Tammy Meltzer, our district manager, Lucian Reynolds, and is Laura on yet? Laura Stars, co-chair of the Land Use, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee, who I think will be joining us very shortly. One item on our agenda tonight, the Land Use Committee is being asked to pick up a discussion that's been ongoing borough-wide by a number of community boards and particularly led by several folks on CB1 relating to public bathrooms. And tonight we're going to have a discussion on how the zoning text might address the growing problem, and we'll hear, I guess, a presentation about what is the problem and what are some proposed solutions. I guess we'll keep our toilet humor to a minimum, but nevertheless, we'll have some fun anyway as we talk about bathrooms. So, Julie Chu, I think you were meant to lead us off, if I understand correctly. But otherwise, if there's any other introductory or perfunctory remarks anyone else from the Public Bathrooms Working Group wants to make, feel free. And the way we'll do this is after the presenters are done, we will go through questions from committee members, then other members of the community board, and then if there are any members of the public, I don't see any attendees right now, who want to speak up or be heard, will do so as well. Julie?
Hi, everyone. Lucian, I just sent you the PowerPoint. I don't know if you would be able to share screens. I don't have availability.
I can absolutely do that. I just downloaded the most recent version as of, say, 30 minutes ago. Can I just go ahead and load that up?
Sure. I don't know if you got, I didn't send you my recent one that I worked on this weekend, but let's see.
It's more recent than that. It was,
okay, great. Okay. So just a little background about us. In 2018, I did a bathroom report, some research on bathrooms with the Urban Design Forum, and presented to CB5. And Renee Kinsella, our chair for the budget committee, has been a huge advocate and been able to create this restroom task force with CB1, CB4, 5, and 6. And we've been meeting since February of 2022, and with the public health crisis we've been experiencing, as well as all the retail bathrooms shutting down, bathrooms has been a big subject around the city. So I'm gonna just give you guys a brief overview of the stats from our research, touch base with you on some of the intros that the city council have reviewed and passed, and then our recommendations regarding POPs that we wanted to hear feedback from CB1. And then I wanted to also thank Tammy, Betty, Pat, and Mimi from CB1, who've been huge supporters as well as contributors to our task force. So if you go to the next page, so from our research, we found 1,100 public bathrooms in New York City, and they're comprised of a few bathroom types. If you go to the next page, we have about 660 bathrooms from the park system, but that's only half of our parks have access to public bathrooms at this point. Next page. Our subway stations, 78 out of our 472 stations have existing bathrooms, and all of those closed during the pandemic. 6 will be reopening in January, and the closest one to us will be Union Square in Manhattan. Next page. Our bathroom system also consists of 5 automated public toilets, which we'll talk a little bit about what these are in the next slides, but it also includes 4 transportation hubs. One of them in your district, Staten Island Ferry. Next. And then we also included the library bathrooms as part of this system. Over 200 libraries, and these all closed during the pandemic, of course. So that was also affected us recently. Next. And then we also counted NYPD stations. Municipal buildings would also be included. Of course, these are harder to access for the public, but something to think about, that they could be much more active in our public bathroom system. Next page. And then POPs, what we're going to be talking to you mostly about tonight. Out of the 550 POPs in our city, only 14 of them have provided bathrooms. Next page. And then right now, we have 2 public bathrooms that are open 24/7, Penn Station and Port Authority, although I think we have one POPs that just presented to CB5 this recent month that they will be providing 24/7 bathrooms. Next page. And then we also looked at 311 complaints and the number of public urination over the past 10 years. So 400,000 urination complaints. This is part of our study for citing, but also, before they changed the fines for public urination, people were getting penalized for the lack of bathroom access in our city. Next page. So this is, we do these studies at different areas of the city, where we overlap locations of bathrooms in relationship to urination complaints to kind of see where the need is and where it's lacking. Next page. We can skip through the history. If you can go to the next page. This just talks about our bathroom system. We did get sued in the 90s, and from that lawsuit, Deakins, a toilet group was formed back in the 1990s, and under Deakins, they installed 4 temporary toilets that were used over 40,000 times in the period of 4 months. They were deemed a success, but New York Times cited community opposition and ADA that they couldn't implement these toilets for a while. And if you go to the next page, just New York Times, Giuliani, his administration tried to plan for toilets, didn't work. Next page. Bloomberg actually made it one of his top 3 priorities behind the schools and budgets. Next page. And so Bloomberg was able to broker a furniture deal 2006, where Samusa pays the city $2 billion for and provides 3,000 bus stands, 300 newsstands, and 20 automatic public toilets. So they would pay for the toilets, pay for the installation, the maintenance. And we found out in 2018 from the Free TP movement that 15 of them, after 15 years, were still not installed. So this is when we picked up and started doing the study on the public bathroom system. Next page. So for those that don't know the automated public toilets, there's one in Madison Square Park, and then 4 others in the other boroughs, and one in the top of Manhattan. Next page. This is the inside of the compartment, and it automatically self-cleans. We've been trying to cite the remaining 15, or trying to get the city to work on these And this kind of ties into some of the legislation that's going on. So I'll touch base more about this. But if you can go to the next slide. So CB5 last year or the year before, we were working with DOT. Part of the problem with the APTs is it needs 5 feet of clearance on 3 sides and 8 feet on the other side. So that's a lot of clearance for our sidewalks, which is already congested. So what we were trying to do was locate them next to POPs, especially POPs that were built in the early 60s, where there's not a lot of furniture, seating, and a lot of open space. So this diagram kind of shows us looking at a few sites where there's open space adjacent to the sidewalk where we could get access, open space for the toilets. Next. And then these are the Portland loos, which is a different type of sidewalk toilet. And the city of Portland actually did R&D to make it more appropriate for certain concerns, such as, activities that you don't want, whether it's drugs or unhoused people hanging out. I actually did visit one of these this weekend, and I've heard that the city purchased one last year, and we're curious where they will be citing this. But it is much more cost effective than some of these other bathrooms that in our public bathroom system. If you can go to the next page. So comfort stations, these new ones that the city are building are costing $5 million a pop, $5,000 a square feet per square feet, right? This is something that has alarmed city council, and it's also takes a lot of time to build them, sometimes up to 5 years. And so that's the Portland Loo came in as one option for parks to find more cost-effective ways of providing bathrooms in their parks. Next page. And in 2019, Comptroller Scott Stringer did a study of all the parks bathrooms and found out of 400 fixtures that were damaged, 50 hazardous conditions. So this is one of the intros that we will review where, city council is asking for some kind of accountability on if these were fixed, yeah, next page. And then another bathroom type, this is the MTA subway station at the 7 train. And these bathrooms were provided by Boston Properties when they were building on top of a subway station as a response to get extra development rights. They provided, they rebuilt the station and provided 4 toilets here. These are the 4 stalls that you see. And they pay the local bid, Times Square Alliance, $100,000 a year to provide full-time attendance to, just monitor the bathrooms, make sure unwanted activities don't occur. Next page. And then one thing we studied was the community toilet scheme in London. And Germany has a similar scheme where the city pays retailers to open up their bathrooms to the public. Existing bathrooms, they're more cost effective than building new bathrooms. So this is one way of increasing our bathroom system in the city. Next. So part of our research last year, we noticed that City Council requested in their budget to this request to the mayor about $250 million for comfort stations. That's $50 million per borough. So something new we haven't seen, and we're not sure if this request was funded. Next page. And then this intro from the Manhattan Borough President's Office was passed in November of last year, where DOT and DPR would provide a report citing a bathroom for each zip code in the city. So this is something to flag because it would, you know, right now we did talk to DOT. Seems like they're understaffed, like all our city agencies, and the report is a 1-year report. So technically, by the end of this year, they should provide the report, which, based on our discussions, this likely won't happen. But it would be a good thing for each community board to look into their area and provide suggestions so that consideration is made for what we want and what we think is best. Next page. And this is the other intro that was introduced in the summer of last year, which hasn't passed, but it would require parks to provide a report every 6 months about the bathrooms. And ties into this comptroller's report about a lot of these bathrooms not functioning well. Next page. So here's just a list of things that our working group have been working on, suggestions of increasing and making better our public bathroom system. And one of them relates to POPs, and this is what we want to focus on tonight with you. The idea for POPs, and if you skip to a couple pages to the POP section, which we'll expand a little bit more on. So right now, zoning doesn't require bathrooms when developers provide a POPs. But the idea is that when POPs are over 10,000 square feet, they are required to provide a food amenity that is in the zoning resolution. And our idea is that if they are required to provide food access, it might go well hand in hand that access to a public bathroom is also provided. And this could be an existing bathroom in the commercial building. Next page. So this is a list of the 14 bathrooms that do have 14 POPs that do have bathrooms. And there's the dates where they're mostly done in the 80s. We think somebody in the POP DCP was suggesting these to the developers. And most of them, or all of them, we're seeing are for indoor POPs or covered POPs. And we do have one or two in CB1, 180 Maiden Lane and 60 Wall Street. Next page. This graph is from the POPs DCP website showing the number of POPs that have been built over the years. In East Midtown, at least where we are, we did the East Midtown rezoning recently. There will be a lot of POPs generated there, new POPs at least. Next page. And then this is the history of changes for POPs in the zoning resolution, where more requirements have been made over the years. Next page. And this is just a reminder of how much FAR the developers get for providing public space. And what we're asking for, bathrooms that are already in their building just to be open to the public. And if they desire to build an additional bathroom, there are some precedents where there are bathrooms outside in the plaza. We can go, if you skip ahead, and show you that. Next page. So this is typical POPs from the 60s when the requirements were very low for these incentives. Next page. And then this is the updated POPs where they were modified to up to current standards. So we were talking about in our task force that every 3 years POPs have to come back to the community board and DCP for recertification. Next page. So this is a new updated POPs in CB5, 550 Madison. And they did provide a bathroom. It's the second photo where the glazing is, the door. If you go in there, there will be a gender neutral bathroom. And if you go to the next page, we have a plan from the developer where they provided a bathroom under this hill. I think with security cameras and gender neutral bathroom. So this is an example of a POPs with access to a public bathroom. Are there any more slides? Yes, and then we have our zoning text amendment. So some boards don't want to get into the nitty gritty of what actually we're changing, but I can run through this really quickly with you guys just to see.
Please do, Julie.
Okay,
Thanks.
so here in the zoning text, under kiosk and open air cafes, they have a lot of different requirements, but we're just adding some additional text saying that if you're providing a kiosk that is food related, access to public bathrooms is required. And that bathroom could be associated with the kiosk inside or nearby the commercial building or in the public plaza. Same with open air cafes. We've asked some of these applicants, if the restaurants can open up their bathroom to the public or the commercial building to open up their bathroom to the public. So this is the same where we're asking for access there. Next page. And then this is under section 37,748 additional amenities. And this is where plazas greater than 10,000 square feet are required to provide a food amenity. So we're just adding to that, saying that where they're including food service, they must also include public bathroom access as one of the 3 required amenities. And then we have a section here, we added section H, public bathrooms. So access to public restrooms shall be required for public plazas greater than 10,000 square feet in area that are associated with 1 or more commercial buildings, contain food service in a kiosk, open air cafe, or a restaurant associated with that commercial building. And then POPs that have covered pedestrian space, enclosed public space, or covered plaza to include access to a public restroom. Because we're already inside their building, it might be more natural for them to provide us with access to one of the bathrooms in the building. And then the number of fixtures required for the public restroom should be based on the occupant load of these public spaces. So, and that works for the indoor POPs where fire and egress needs to be calculated. Next page. And then we have a separate section now in the zoning text amendment just on public bathrooms because we wanted to talk about signage and operations. So here's a few sections, and some of this language is coming from other sections of the zoning text that talk about signage. So we wanted to include this for restrooms specifically. A public space symbol and required text that matches the dimensions and graphic standards provided in the privately owned public space signage file. The phrase open to the public, followed by the approved hours of operation. We visited a couple of these bathrooms and you need to go ask the attendant to open up the bathroom for you. You don't know if the bathroom is open to the public. So even though it says that they provided a public bathroom, you might not not necessarily know about it when you're at the POP. So we just wanted to make it clear that it is available and that it's accessible for people with disabilities. And then, yeah, more requirements. POPs are required to provide an information plaque about what's included in the public plaza. We want the restroom to be listed in that information plaque. And then it should be opened, especially when there is food service. And the owner should be responsible for the maintenance of the public restrooms. I think that might be it. I try to be succinct, but our team is here if you guys have any questions.
All right, Julie, thank you so much. And thank you for trying to be succinct. We really appreciate that. We will go through questions or comments from the committee members and see where we are. But first, just take a quick pause, and as Julie suggested, to see whether there are any additional comments or quick additional thoughts any members of the public restroom working group want to make. And you just feel free to unmute yourselves and pop in. Okay, hearing none. I see Gerald has his hand up, then Paul Goldstein. So we'll go in that order. Gerald, then Paul.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yeah. You're up.
There we go. All right. One question I have is, so what is the requirement for existing food establishments to provide restrooms?
That's a good question. I think we talked about this in the committee. It has to be a certain size before the bathroom is triggered. And I'm not sure of that threshold off the top of my head.
Okay. I'm just thinking about in particular, there's a number of establishments around the city that have restrooms. They're required to provide them, but they don't actually make them. Some of the major chains, national chains, that just simply close their bathrooms to the public. So these are all great amendments, but I think that one of the first steps would be to enforce existing establishments' requirements, whether it's through fines or whatever needs to happen.
I think that's a great suggestion. We haven't talked to Department of Buildings. Maybe that's something we need to do.
Yeah, they may be a little behind on POPs enforcement to begin with, but I think that's a good point, Gerald. Thank you. Were you done?
Pat, may I just
Yes.
comment?
One last. I was just
hang on, Vicky.
Sorry. Okay.
so I know that you had mentioned London, and I just did some quick research here. It looks like Paris has 2.2 million people and approximately, they have 400 public toilets. So quick math is one toilet for every 5,515 people, which puts us, if we use 8.8 million, puts us at approximately requiring 1,600 toilets, which means we're about 500 less per person. And I'm not saying that's a standard. I'm just saying that's one standard. It might be worth, looking into other cities like that to see what they're providing. And then my other question would be, has there been any study of how long it takes to, I guess there's different size bathrooms for one, how long it takes to clean a restroom and what the annual maintenance fees are. If it's, let's say 2 hours to clean, I'm just thinking the restroom at Bryant Park, one of the best examples, I think, most successful examples of public restrooms in the city. What is the cost of maintenance for those particular, the existing restrooms?
No, that's a great question because we really believe full-time attendance is important, not only for maintenance of the bathrooms, but safety. And we did talk to Dan Biederman a couple times regarding both his Bryant Park and Greeley Square bathrooms. We know it's well established that he spends $300,000 a month, is it? That on not just the attendance, but all sorts of features, the flowers and toilet paper and all that. But in terms of cost, it also provides jobs. You know, it's not just the cost of the staff, which parks have, you know, a lot of issues with, and that's why their bathrooms are not maintained well. But for a public bathroom system to provide a source of jobs, which in other countries they have volunteers to do this too. So there's definitely ways to be creative in that aspect.
And keep the questions coming because we're going to be taking lists of questions so we can refine as we go along and hopefully get the information and see what DCP needs as well.
Thanks.
Do
That's
you
all I
mind
have
if I
for right
chime
now.
in on some of that real quick?
Uh,
Since
sure,
I've
Mimi.
been on the bathroom working group, and that's why I'm actually even in this meeting. So the point of the bathrooms working group is to, or task force or whatever we want to call it, is to identify many solutions to this giant problem. So it's not like we want to require, it's not like we think that this POPs solution is the end all be all, right? Like there's a broad net that we would like to throw across the city filled with bathrooms in different ways. So, you know, this and other solutions is useful, but this would help fill in that bathroom gap that Gerald was talking about.
Thanks, Mimi.
So Pat, this is before we go any further, Patrick, can I just make a comment about, an answer to Jerry's question?
Sure.
And see if anyone here knows differently. So it was my understanding that every restaurant or every public establishment has to provide a restaurant to the public, but apparently the way you get around cleaning and providing this facility, you know, to the public is that if you put a sign that your establishment does not provide access to the public, that is not a customer, that negates the rule from the city saying that every public establishment has to offer toilet facilities to the public. Did anyone else hear that? I was astonished when I heard this, so I'm sure it was given to me by a reliable source, but it all seems like a lot of maneuvering.
Yeah, I don't know one way or the other. I know we have someone from DCP who may be on, so if our DCP rep can verify that, even
Be good to know, yeah.
doesn't have to be right on the spot. That's something we should verify one way or the other. Back to the questions. I'm going to go in order that the hands are raised. I'll go back to Paul Goldstein, then Rosa, then Joe Lerner, and that's what I see up right now. So Paul, Rosa, Joe, then Tammy. There we go.
Okay, thank you. Have you done any kind of study estimating how many additional bathrooms may result if these type of changes are implemented? Particularly how many additional bathrooms in Community Board 1? That would be good to know. Do you know?
No, but yeah, we can try to do some projections. I think that's a good idea, especially since we have to. Because going back to the other question where comparing us with Paris, I know in that discomfort station report, we were cited as ranked 98th or 94th in terms of the cities for public bathrooms. So how do we make up and compare with other cities, and if all our parks have bathrooms, what would that look like? Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Let me keep going then. You mentioned you're thinking about a 3-year recertification of the POPs, but that's not in the current proposal. Is there any reason why it's not?
No, currently they are required to come back to the community board every 3 years to recertify, and we listen to their application every 3 years. So that's the opportunity to ask them, would you be able to provide a bathroom, or are you going to comply with the bathroom if this is introduced into the zoning text?
But they would only have to comply with the regs that were in place when they got their bonus.
That's a good question. So this is something that our land use chair from CB5 mentioned, that they do have to come back and recertify, but can we make them? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Paul is absolutely right that they're subject to the regulations at the time that the bonus was issued, unless they make a major modification, which is sort of what you see the Water Street zoning text amendment sort of affording for. So that's why for so long those POPs spaces can stay effectively unmaintained, because there's very little enforcement around it. But yeah, you're right, Paul.
Well, maybe we could suggest taking another look at that. And then I'll just mention one other thing. You said the Portland has a bathroom that looks promising. Any suggestion that we try a couple of those in New York City?
Yeah, I can tell you that Washington D.C. is installing those. They passed the Restroom Act and they're placing those. And there's 14 cities that have Portland loos, and Hoboken has one, right? That's the one I visited this weekend. And the city bought one, and we're curious where the city is gonna place it.
Okay, so one.
Anything else, Paul?
Okay. No, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rosa, Mr. Lerner, and Tammy.
Hi, thank you very much. Oh, video. Okay.
There you are.
Hi. Yeah, and I'm still there. Awesome. Okay, so the range I heard today was around 100,000 to 300,000 per month to maintain these public bathrooms. Could you?
$100,000 is how much Times Square Alliance pays. I mean, Boston Properties pays Times Square Alliance $100,000 a year
Oh, a year.
for the full-time attendants at that. And they don't clean the bathrooms. Boston Properties have their own people that clean the bathrooms.
Okay, and then the 300,000 you mentioned at.
Yes, that's Bryant Park bathrooms, where that's not just attendance, that's everything that's there. You know, they have a back toilet cover, they have, you know, all sorts of special stuff that not
Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to check out their special stuff.
for
Oh,
sure.
it's amazing, Rosa. There's a big thing of flowers right as you walk in the door. Anyway,
They
You have
spend
to check it out.
thousands and thousands of dollars on flowers. It's
Yeah.
over the top.
Oh, okay. And then how much do the Governor's Island bathrooms cost? You know, the ones in the sort of the ones on wheels, but that have actual ceramic toilets and like fixtures and air conditioning. Those are the nicest porta potties I've ever seen and experienced.
We can request that info. That's easy. They have that. Yeah.
Okay, and then also want to point out to people that the World Trade Center, that whole sort of subterranean route, the bathrooms that were in there for the longest time were actually closed to the public. And they were closed not just on the subterranean levels, but at all levels. So like if you were going to go up multiple floors to Italy, you really needed to use the bathroom. You're used to using the bathrooms there on your commute or whatever. They were not accessible for a super duper long time. Then they opened for a short time, then they closed again. I don't know what the status of them.
Oh, they're open again. If you tell by the long lines out in front of them, they're definitely open again.
Do we know why that was? Because That was they were closed for a bizarrely long time, and I was wondering if it was because they were having some issues there. Um,
No clue.
okay, so I'm not hearing any responses.
Don't know, but we can ask, and that would go to quality of life. So we
Okay.
could certainly work with Port Authority and find that answer out for you, Rosa.
Okay, awesome. And then the other thing is I would like to, with my other hat on for Brooklyn Bridge Manhattan, volunteer to take one of those portable bathrooms that they have not been able to locate somewhere, to have one of them at the base of the Brooklyn Bridge. As several of you may know, there were private porta potties that sprung up at the base of the Brooklyn Bridge, at the terminus of the Brooklyn Bridge, literally across the street from City Hall. You know, requesting a voluntary contribution of $1. The tourists loved them. They literally blocked the view of the bridge, which I thought was horrendous. But everybody needs to go. That's just true. So
There, Rosa.
so now they've moved to the City Hall side of the street. I
Yep.
just saw that today.
Yep.
But they're chained up now and nobody's able to use them. So I don't
They
know.
were. That might be just Monday because they were open over the weekend.
Oh, okay. So I think we need a better solution than that. And I guess where I'm going with that is that I would love to have some of City Council's money to convert the vaults underneath the bridge to permanent public bathrooms. And then I would also love to have the temporary ones until we can get to the vaults, down there as an experiment location for CB1 to have public bathrooms. Because anybody who started with a coffee at the Brooklyn side of the Brooklyn Bridge, by the time they get to the Manhattan side, they sort of have to pee. So, sorry, but it's basic human biology. So if we could do that, that would be awesome. And Julie, I would love to connect with you offline, and I'm sure that we can arrange that to look at how we might be able to get some public restrooms down there, because the bridge has like 19,000 tourists crossing that thing every single day, and a vast majority of them have to go to the bathroom. Thank you.
That sounds great. Let's definitely connect.
Thanks, Rosa. Joe and then Tammy.
Do we know how many different agencies besides the Department of Parks runs these bathrooms? You mentioned the Boston Equities and some other. Do we know how many of them and how many they run? In other words, do we have a database of who runs which bathrooms?
Well, the stats I showed in the beginning, those slides, they're associated with certain agencies, right? The MTA has their bathrooms.
So let me interrupt you. So you know who runs which bathrooms in the city of New York?
In terms of agencies, yes.
In touch, whoever runs them, whether it's Boston Equity or MTA or the Department of
But
Parks.
Boston Equity isn't an agency, they're a private developer.
I know that, but I'm using that as an example. Do we know the private companies as well that run bathrooms? I think that's a database we should have before we go any further.
Joe, it is a division between, for example, you've got the Parks Department. The Parks Department is responsible for, we'll use the Battery as my example. There are 2 sets of bathrooms in the Battery. The Parks Department is supposed to operate and maintain both sets of bathrooms. Laura's nodding, so she knows where I'm going. For the bathrooms on the north side, they are Parks Department bathrooms. The bathrooms on the southern side of the park, they have contracted out to the restaurant. Why they didn't contract out to Statue Cruises, I'll never understand, because they're the operators that are using it. Because the restaurant is often not open, and especially through the pandemic, for example. So the southern bathrooms were closed and not maintained because the operator was closed during the pandemic, not by his fault, but by the law. Well, therefore, you can only kind of take a look at it and say, we don't want to get into the sub. At the end of the day, the Parks Department are responsible for the bathrooms in the parks. The bids for example, the one Julie's talking about over at Times Square, the private developers through a public-private partnership with the bid take care of the restrooms there. So it's whether it's the bid or the Parks Department, or for example, when you're looking at, I'll use any of our pops on Water Street as an example. Every single one that we are hoping of large scale pops who is putting in a kiosk restaurants, which are not required to have bathrooms due to the size. It's kind of like having a food cart outside, right? There's no requirement for them, but we would like that building, and that's an individual pop's ownership, to be able to have a bathroom accessible for a pops over a certain size with food and beverage establishments, whether or not the food and beverage establishments are required by law to have a bathroom. If you're going to sell food, you should have a bathroom in the pops.
So we know who runs each bathroom in the city of New York. Is that what we're saying here? Yes or no? My point is we should know at a database who runs each bathroom in the city of New York before we go making recommendations. Number two, is there a schedule for when these public Parks Department bathrooms should be cleaned? Shouldn't we look into that? I mean, that's primary. You don't want dirty bathrooms or non-usable bathrooms. I think that's an important question to deal with.
I think right now.
And then one other, and then I'll go.
Keep going. Yep.
Who does the enforcement? And is enforcement done on any schedule, or there's no enforcement whatsoever on any of the issues I raised?
I'm going to let Lucian answer that one for you, Joe, because you already know what I'm going to say. There's certainly not enough. So.
Well, do they have a schedule, and who checks up on them? I mean, we can get the greatest bathroom in the world, and if they're not being cleaned, it's valueless to me anyway. And if they're not being forced, I have it.
Joe, what I can say just in terms of CB1 bathrooms that are in our pipeline, we were in 2018. We received a presentation from the Department of Transportation about getting one of those APTs in the plaza by 1 Center Street, presumably to serve tourists who are coming off or heading to the Brooklyn Bridge or just massing in the area. And since then, we've had radio silence. And right before, let's say November, I asked Jackie Lazaro from the Department of Transportation to see if we can get a status update on what's going on with that. Is DOT pursuing? I mean, you know, to do this, to install a bathroom is not, you know, obviously simply taking one out of the warehouse and putting it down. There's the requirement to run water line, sewage line, and electricity, and it would take, you know, a major capital project depending on where they chose to place it. This is probably one of the larger, you know, roadblocks to seeing more public bathrooms. And I'll just say, in my previous life working for elected official, you know, I was with Gail when she's asked for public bathrooms in many parks, and Laura can certainly corroborate this. But you know, parks are also, you know, a real desert when it comes to water lines, sewage lines, and electricity, which is why every parks project involves a huge amount of cost. And they look at, you know, composting toilets and other things. So that being said, I can certainly re-up my request to DOT to give us a status update, but that's what I know.
So we don't know who's in charge of enforcement. We don't know what the schedule is for cleaning. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we're not sure who operates all the bathrooms in the city. And I think you have to have basic information before you want to do anything else. You make your arguments much stronger when you know what the basic situations are. And I'll say thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Great points. Tammy, then Laura and Vicky, your hand is up again.
I'll go last.
Okay. Laura?
Okay, well, first of all, it is true that the Parks Department bathrooms cost thousands of dollars a square foot to build. And I'm not sure we know why that is, but I know that, for example, State Parks has been able to build them for much less money. And I also know that a developer would be able to build a bathroom for a lot less money than the Parks Department. So there's a whole thing with contractors and the Parks Department. So that's that. I agree that, you know, if a POPS is big enough to trigger the, you know, if it's the over 10,000 square feet and big enough to trigger having to have food, then I think that also triggers the bathroom thing. I think that that is, you know, what I think that's really worth considering. I mean, when I first saw this meeting item, I thought we were talking about maybe requiring all developers and all POPs to have bathrooms, which I think would be really difficult because some plazas are actually quite small. However, I do think that there's, you know, there is room to negotiate to insert bathrooms in the buildings. And, you know, it's probably something worth considering. I guess that's kind of what regarding the situation at the base of the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, frankly, it seems like the Tweed Courthouse or the municipal building or one of those, there's so many public buildings there. And there's also Pace. I mean, between all those institutions, they should be able to provide bathrooms. That's just crazy.
Laura, I don't know if you remember, we did pass a resolution pre-pandemic, and we approved through landmarks, through everything, bathrooms that were supposed to go just outside 1 Center Street on the side closest to the bridge.
Right.
And what happened to that is an unknown.
Right. Well, everybody wants to use a bathroom and nobody wants to provide a bathroom. So it's good that we're pushing. All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Pun intended. All right, Vicky?
Thank you, Patrick.
There was no pun intended.
I was going to work my jokes in one way or another.
You
Sorry, it was
did.
at your expense, Laura.
That's okay. You picked a good person.
Julie, thanks for this presentation. I'm sorry, I tried during the presentation to organize my thoughts, so bear with me. But as an architect thinking about a problem and, you know, having lived in the city over 3 decades, this isn't new. So I would like to start with, for example, reminding everyone that going to the bathroom is kind of a private activity, and most people like to keep it anonymous. You'd like to have access to an independent facility rather than to ask for it. You may not speak the language. So our next question is, who are we serving with these public bathrooms, right? Obviously ourselves in the city first, but then New York City has a lot of tourists, so it's a human need and we should be kind and consider them as well. In this point 1 and 2 I have in my notes, I would add that the reason that New York City Public Library on 42nd has flowers, it's because it mitigates. It helps you leave the public realm and go into a private realm. And we're very grateful to have flowers. It also kind of has a cleansing thing to it. Before I get to my preference, I would say that my point 3 is that I went to an American Institute of Architects lecture about, I don't know, before the pandemic, whatever that was. And I think it was Deborah, our state councilwoman, who came to give a talk because she was baffled by the fact that it takes over $4 million of taxpayers' money to provide two stations, a male and a female, in a park. And she was asking architects how this can be reduced. A lot of it has to do with the way the city pays and who's interested in working and not getting payment for their services for over 3 months, blah, blah, blah. So all of this brings me to, you said that I once used in New York City ages ago, one of those portable toilets that you showed an image of, and it was the one to the right, and I can't remember, it was 25 cents or 50 cents. And I think you said it was 5,000 a square foot. So I would suggest that we use the most stringent requirement, which is an ADA, so about 25 square feet minimum, which comes to about 125,000 per stall. But I have to say that they're self-cleaning, they're anonymous, they're private. It's not that expensive, even if you beg for $1. I would advocate for a solution where these types of facilities are provided all over the place, wherever we can, so that a lot of what I just described, independent activity, private, anonymous, self-cleaning, and readily available, would be my preference in the city. And also financially, I think in the long run, it would pay itself off. Anyway, thank you. That was my thought.
Thanks, Vicky. I just want to jump in and respond because
Uh-huh.
that was really helpful. Some of our thoughts in our research and why we're studying so many different bathroom types is that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, because there's so many different populations that use the bathrooms, whether it's ADA or seniors, the homeless.
Right.
We're opening up. One suggestion is retail bathrooms, right? But maybe certain people wouldn't want to go to a bar to use a bathroom. Some people don't want to use a bathroom on the sidewalk in the middle of the street, but then we don't want bathrooms that are too private because we don't want people loitering and doing activities so different types of bathrooms.
Julie, can you hear us?
Sorry about that.
Are you finished, or are you going on? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that idea that it's all sorts of bathrooms that we're trying to provide in this bathroom system that we're.
If I can just respond again, a lifelong study of humans and how we act as an architect, I will tell you that most of us, and again, it's just one architect, like this to be a private anonymous activity. We don't have to ask 25 people to, where's the bathroom, and you got to speak the language. The facility I used, I'm almost sure, was at Madison Square. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, whenever that came out. And the great thing about it is that it's self-cleaning and it has a duration and you have to pay for it. Unfortunately, I wish it was free, but it's not, because it cannot be, because then you would get loitering and maybe multiple people. Yes.
One of the things that we don't want to do in the working group is be prescriptive to type. We want to be able to have whomever's going to pay for it be able to get, the goal is to have the bathrooms and have greater numbers of bathrooms in different varieties. While we all may agree with you on type, if that doesn't work, for example, inside of POPs in particular, or that maybe that works in a park, the goal for the working group was to find zoning text amendment changes that we can put through to offer a variety of different opportunities to be able to have bathrooms installed. So it's not a one size fits all. I hear you on that, and that would be awesome. We also had a gentleman who is in development of an app that you would be able to download per city that would tell you where every public restroom is. So you can get across the language barriers with access like that. And he had interviewed the bathroom working group, and he interviewed many other people, from youth to accessibility concerns to, what do people need? How do they access that information? Where do they get it? So it's really not so narrowly focused on whether it self-cleans, it has it's really more of, in a space this size, you can get a bathroom in there. We talked about having genderless stalls to be able to increase the opportunity to get even one bathroom if there wasn't enough for two. You understand what I mean?
I do. It's just sometimes I think overreaching and thinking over too much. Humanity likes to go to the bathroom with least amount of trouble, right? Without least amount of announcement. And a simple toilet, you come in, you put $1, I mean, whatever it is, and it gives you only 8-7 minutes, whatever, and then the place starts to wash. It's just, we have to pay attention to what humans need, but I understand. And also, please don't focus on apps. A lot of our homeless don't have a place to live, let alone a phone. So anyway, just my thought. Like I said, when I need a bathroom, unfortunately, I have no problem going to Saks and looking for a bathroom. I wonder if everyone has that, right? So anyway, just my 2 cents, just one of the different views. But thank you so much, Tammy and Patrick.
All right, thanks, Vicki. Tammy, I think that leaves you up. Joe, I believe your hand's up from earlier still.
Yes, it's on from before. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
Madam
So-
Chair.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I'm super excited about for 2023 is that we are partnering with, and Julie, I cannot thank you enough, and Betty and Mimi and Pat from our board, and Renee from CB5, and our friends from DCP who are joining us tonight. The goal for our committee in land use is to come up with options that we can present by letter or resolution, however each individual board does it, but to come up with through discussion. It's great that all these questions are being asked. We will hopefully be able to come back next month with more information. The goal on the dialogue for this is to have each community board come up with and present a resolution or a letter that we can bring to borough board and we can bring to city council to get text amendment changes. I think for community board 1 in specific, we have such a unique diversity of opportunities with our public parks. You want to think of Rockefeller Park, for example, huge space, one public restroom area, right? Not always open. If you want to think about all the resiliency projects, all the places that, we wish that there could have been more bathrooms, and the POPs and the changes that we have on Water Street. So there are opportunities that may make this super ripe, that at a later meeting, we can talk about POPs and Arcade and the square footage very specifically, and looking at this, bringing in more information, but really keeping it more of driving to the top for opportunities, but not necessarily being prescriptive for, we can say in a park, this is what we'd like to, we'd like the bathroom in X square footage of a park. In our POPs over X square feet, and based on the zoning text amendment, this is what we'd like to see. So those are the kind of ways that we want to drive the discussion. And we have to include Governor's Island, that was so well said, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been out on Governor's Island biking and thinking to myself, oh snap, where's the closest bathroom? And how fast can I get there? Because where are we? That's a terrible question for a tourist in the middle of New York without with a language barrier. So however we can make it easier to clean the streets. We talk about this all the time for land use. I think if we wiped the city clean and we rebuilt the city from ground up, there'd be a lot of things that we did differently. But now we have to try and pull what we have. we're looking at so many changes to increase the density in Lower Manhattan and the population, and people need the services and the infrastructure to go with that. And so this is part and parcel to be a lot of these conversations this year. I cannot thank Julie enough for being willing to come to CB1. We are a robust and rowdy crowd to present. And if you have more questions, send them to Patrick and Laura with a copy to us in the office, and we'll distribute it to the bathroom working group so we can, again, have more robust. So if you hang up the phone tonight and say, wow, I wished I had asked about bathrooms here, email the office, copy to Patrick and Laura and I, and we'll add it to the list. And sort of amusingly to the topic we have on tonight was the announcement by the MTA that they are opening 9 bathrooms that have been closed during the pandemic, public restrooms. That came out today. I wish I could tell you that every bathroom was reopened everywhere, much like people were saying, you know, that were closed, but we're not there yet. So that was my only comment, is to say thank you for the hard work that everybody's doing, and know that for this committee, it's not a one and done tonight. And when you're walking around Lower Manhattan and you're thinking, geez, the sign in Starbucks says, I can't go to the bathroom here, what's my next move? Maybe that's a question that we should be asking in committee.
Thanks, Tammy, and that's a great transition. Oh, Betty, I see your hand is up, and then Gerald. Betty, you first.
I was going to say, why not have Gerald first?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks. I'll be very quick. Tammy, thank you. You dropped a name, and I just want to say that I'm going to come back to this. There should not be a Starbucks in the city that doesn't have a bathroom that is accessible to the public. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's 3 that I go to on a regular basis, and they have never been open in the last 5 years. Thank you.
Betty?
Thanks. Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for being so excited about public restrooms, because that's why I guess the motivating factor for those of us who've been working on the task force. But I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that right now we're worried about POPs, very specifically POPs, and the rest of the stuff is other options. We'd like to maximize, as Julie said, maximize as many as possible. So I was wondering if you were looking to do a resolution of support, because I have some suggested, therefore be it resolved, which I think people are looking more specific than I think is being sought necessarily at this particular time.
Thanks, Betty. So I was suggesting that Tammy's remarks about this not as being an ongoing conversation was a good transition to polling the committee to see. We do have this on for a possible resolution. I think what I heard from the sense of the committee is that there are a number of open questions, particularly around the maintenance and how do we tame that issue if we're going to focus specifically on text amendments to the POPs language. But I want to sort of open it up to committee members to see whether this is something that we feel we're in a position to do a resolution on this evening. And Betty, I want to acknowledge that you put in a lot of hard work on this, and I want to thank you for some suggested ideas that could go in a resolution in the future that you sent along. And let's see if the committee members, how we feel about it.
Thanks. I just want to make sure they realize just how little we're asking for at this time.
So Joe and Laura and maybe Paul, I mean, is it fair to say, and Rosa as well, in your questions, what I heard were specific concerns about, you know, what would this text amendment, what are the consequences of the text amendment from a maintenance standpoint? Do we have enough information to say that we as a committee and then as a community board support specific types of changes to the zoning text amendment, or do we support them generally? Are we there yet? What do folks think?
Well, are we under any time deadline for this?
Do not believe we are. I think, as I understand it, we are the first community board to be graced with this presentation and ideas from the working group. It's going to go around to some of the other community boards, really as a momentum builder to try to get our elected officials in the Manhattan Borough President's office to back some actual specific changes at some point. And working group members, correct me if I've misstated that.
That
right.
sounds right. That sounds right to me. Also, just know that there is also a working group member from a Queens CB. So seriously looking to try and roll this out. Manhattan, Queens, we're going to get everybody on the page.
So Richard Corman, I see your hand is up for the first time if you want to pop in, and then Joe, you as well. Oh, did we lose Richard?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there we are.
Yep. First, I would say I'm sure there's everyone on this call, on this committee, would say that a civilized society and a civilized city would have publicly accessible bathrooms available to people. And with the technology that we have, it should be cost effective and usable, and I think that there needs to be some great improvement in how we're approaching this from an implementation standpoint. That being said, in terms of the text amendment, I want to raise a note of caution. I think we've seen before when we implement text amendments without really careful assessment that there are unintended consequences that are very hard to undo. And so if we're not in a position of urgency here, no pun intended on that one, if we're not in a position of urgency, then I would suggest we have some time and maybe another discussion around this text amendment and make sure we have a really careful assessment of its implications.
Okay, thank you for the view. Joe Lerner, you have your hand up, and then Detta, I see you have your hand up as well.
My thought is to have the people deeply involved in this issue come back to next month with a resolution, and that we can discuss it and hopefully take a vote on it.
Okay. I would point out Betty does, I think, have some language pretty baked. I don't know how whether that is something that the working group is presenting or whether that's just Betty's. I don't mean just Betty's.
Working group.
Okay.
Working groups. Has been working with CB, and again, Julie, I'm sorry if I get this wrong. CB4, CB5, 6. Do I want to say?
Well.
And so everybody and their land use people have been opining. So if you take a look, Richard and Joe and everyone, and you look through like the zoning text amendment that we distributed in preparation for the meeting, that had a lot of the work. And then there's other work that's been done. So, I mean, yeah, the work is ongoing.
Okay. Ted, I want to hear from you, and then I have a suggestion of how we might move things forward. Oh, Ted, you're muted.
Gotcha.
There we
okay.
are.
So just Betty, since Betty has, she's a member of the working group, and she pointed out that the discussion is actually much more narrow than what this committee just discussed. So I would not mind hearing some of the language for the resolution, whether this committee takes it up now or just has a chance to reflect on it, because that might help narrow the focus of the discussion.
And that is exactly what I was going to ask if we could do. So I really appreciate yet another great transition. Thank you so much, Detta. Lucian, I was going to ask you if you could pull up what Betty has sent along. I don't think I have the ability to share a screen. And what I want to focus on are several therefore be it resolved. I could read them if that would just make more sense.
If Lucian can,
Give me a moment.
yeah,
Okay.
certainly reading them is always nice, but having people be able to digest and read at their pace.
And follow along, yeah.
Exactly.
And what I would suggest too is and it does sound like the sense of the committee is maybe we're not fully prepared to do this tonight, but if we can at a minimum just take a look at the language and see if that is in fact the case.
It's for those of us who sometimes join on our phones, it's also helpful if you read them, since it's very small to read on the phone.
Will do. So just bear with us. I think Lucian's working on it.
Patrick, if you could start reading through them, I'm going to try to
Okay.
get this pulled up.
Okay. The first one says, therefore be it resolved that Manhattan Community Board 1 supports the development of a text amendment or amendments to add, and in some cases require, public restrooms and as an amenity for public plazas. And be it further resolved that CB1 asks the Department of City Planning to be open to amending the text for public plazas so that public restrooms are included as an amenity that could enhance our public realm by providing access to free, well-maintained public restrooms for residents, visitors, workers, and the unhoused. And be it further resolved that CB1 encourages Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine and our council member Christopher Marte to support efforts to get more public restrooms associated with public plazas, including, sorry for the dog, and privately owned public spaces. I'm going to go on mute while you guys stitch up. He's always perfectly timed. Sorry, guys. So summarizing is first that we support development of a text amendment to add subcases require public restrooms as an amenity in public plazas. That we ask DCP to be open to amending the text for public plazas, be open to amending, so that public restrooms can be included as an amenity. And that we ask our local elected officials to support the efforts to get more public bathrooms, which seems fairly obvious. Okay. Lucian, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to pull that up on the screen. Oh, look at that. Can you shall receive? If we could just pull down to the last couple of pages. Okay, there you see that therefore be it resolves. Be it resolves. And this is suggested language. So Joe, you have your hand up again. Is that from before or do you want to comment on this? Okay. Let's go Rosa and then Laura.
Hi, I'm in support of this as it's written, so I would go for a resolution tonight.
Okay. Laura?
I think I'm in support of this, but it is occurring to me that there are so many other opportunities for bathrooms, like at Whole Foods and at Starbucks, and in the South Street Seaport in the Tin Building, and like I said before, the municipal building. I mean, I'm just wondering why we need to put the pressure on the Pops. It's like, it seems like it should be more like service establishments or food establishments or something maybe more general, because they're already built all around the city.
And I think as I heard Tammy explain this earlier, the point here is to take a first small step, focusing on the POPs while not excluding those other avenues. And that since it is an ongoing conversation, we can expect as the other CBs weigh in and the elected officials weigh in and DCP weighs in, that they'll come back with additional suggestions that we can support, including those like those that you just outlined.
Yeah, okay. I mean, because there's a lot of buildings that have, you know, we negotiate with a lot of developers down here over things that aren't just POPs. Like I'm thinking of One Wall Street, you know, which, well, now they're putting in the Whole Foods, so presumably that will have public bathrooms. But I mean, developers want a lot of different things. So it seems like on every project, we should be trying to get the public bathrooms if they have food establishments.
I think the working group can find out Wednesday when that Whole Foods opens.
Oh, okay. Cool.
All right. Thanks, Laura. Let's go Joe Lerner, then Richard, and see if anybody else comes in.
I assume we'll take care of the MTA and other things at another resolution. Am I correct or not?
That's the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea is this is, step one in a multi-step process or multi-step approach to trying to solve this complex problem. Richard?
So is it true that, first of all, that a text amendment for the POPs would only apply to new ones or ones that are seeking a substantial change?
I believe that is correct. And if those with a little bit more knowledge on the zoning side,
kind of
jump in.
what we've been saying, and if that's generally the case, I mean, I think this is going to impact a relatively insignificant number, and certainly no immediate impact right now, and it seems so minimal and missing all the issues that really would have an impact in the quality of life out there, that I'm not sure why we're starting here. And I'm a little concerned that if we start in a place that has almost no impact, or at least immediate impact, that we kind of lose momentum on any of the rest of it, which is so much more, could be so much more impactful and so much more important.
Okay.
I don't see any objection to this. I just don't, as I read it, there's nothing that jumps out to me, but I just don't see what it's going to accomplish. And I'm a little concerned that it will kind of suck the wind out of this, out of the effort. If this gets approved and then that they think that we're done, this barely doesn't even hardly begin.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe Betty can go, and Betty, if you wouldn't mind sort of addressing that on behalf of the working group.
Yeah, actually, this is not the first effort that the working group did. The first one was really working with Borough President Levine's legislation, which did pass end of last year about the census zip codes. And that it went after the parks and the DOT identifying spots in each of the census zip codes. The reason there's census zip codes is because there are between 40 and 50 zip codes in Manhattan that only have one building in them. No residences, no anything. So that's the difference of the census zip code versus just zip code. The other piece of legislation that's pending, because we have been working with the Borough Manhattan President's Office, it goes after the parks starting to do exactly what Joe Lerner was asking for. And that's really delineating for the first time, what are their facilities, where are they, and what kind of condition are they in? And then get ready to start reporting to us regularly about their condition, because a lot of them are very dilapidated. So this is really the third thing, and there are more in line, but we can only deal with sort of one at a time. I hope that helps.
Okay.
Oh, and while
Uh,
doing that, if you want to get up to Bank of New York Mellon, that would be great if they had to open up the bathroom that used to be part of their pop space and now isn't. But as they build the Alexander Hamilton plazas and stuff, it would be very nice if they'd give us access to their toilets. Thank you.
I mean, should we include something in here about enforcement of current requirements?
I'm not sure we know what the current bathroom requirements are in POPs, or do we?
There's no requirements.
We do know, and there are none, because no one has foresight at that point that people would need to use the bathrooms.
Interesting. Okay, Paul, your hand's up.
I would just say that if the task force members from our community board who've been working on this for a very lengthy period of time believe that it would be productive and in our interests to move forward tonight with this resolution, then I would support them and the committee doing so.
Okay. All right. Laura, your hand is up again, but that may be from earlier. If you can.
Earlier, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem at all. There are no other hands up, so I'm going to call the question, let's take a straight up or down vote on the resolution, because I think it does sound like there are now a number of folks who are comfortable with this and moving forward tonight. So, can I get a second?
Second.
Very good. All right. We'll do this by acclamation and assume you're in favor unless you tell me opposed, recused, or abstention. So I'm going to ask first, are there any opposed to the resolution? Okay. Any abstentions?
Kettering abstains.
Any others?
I think I'm going to abstain. It's Laura.
Okay. Any recusals from the big restroom lobby? Just kidding. Any recusals? All right. Hearing none, it passes. Thanks to the Public Restroom Working Group. Really happy that you guys were able to bring this to us and we were able to get something accomplished tonight. And as Tammy said, let's keep the conversation going and let us know what other tools in the tool belt we can help to try to build some momentum with this issue. All right.
Yeah, Patrick, can I say, if anyone has any suggestions about the text amendment, by all means also communicate with us, because this is a work in progress to even put together suggested text.
Great. Thanks, Betty. And thank you, Julie, and the rest of the working group. And we will adjourn. We don't have anything else on our agenda. So happy New Year again to everybody. It's nice to see you all, and we'll see you at the full board.
Okay, bye.
Night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.